Now, there's a couple of things that you need to remember when you are buying a motorcycle helmet. In the UK, there are two different standards that a motorcycle helmet should have. One is the British standard, which is a BS 6658 of 1985. The logo looks like this. And the next one is the UNECE regulations of 2205. Looks like this. Now, all helmets sold in the UK should have either one of these on the back. Also, you can get another one, which is the UK British Racing Certificate, and this means that you can take your helmet on a racetrack. Not all motorcycles come with this certificate, so make sure that you buy the correct one for you. Also, some other things to remember. In the UK, there are some forgeries out there, so you've got to be careful when buying online that you don't buy a fake helmet. Number two, make sure that you always try it on. If you need to test a helmet or measure for a helmet, you measure 1/4 inch above your head with a clothing tape measure. Don't use a metal one because you're going to cut your head, but make sure that you use it 1/2 inch above your ear, and then you can see exactly what size you need. But saying that, not all motorcycle helmets have the same shape, so some are going to be different to the others, so you want to try one on before you buy it. Never buy a second-hand helmet. You don't know what has gone on with this helmet. You don't know if it's been dropped, you don't know if it's been stored correctly, and you don't know how old it is. Believe it or not, motorcycle helmets do have a use by date, not a sell by date, but a use by date. This means that when you start to use it, you really should replace your helmet within 2 years. The foam inside that helmet is biodegradable, and over time they do perish with the heat of your head going in. So really and truthfully, you want to change your helmet every 2 years. Now, this does bring out some issues, especially when you buy a Shoei for £600–700. Is it worth the 2 years that you're using it? Also, from the first point you put it on, it doesn't matter really how many times you use it in between, you're still supposed to change it every 2 years. Last point, never borrow somebody else's helmet. Again, you don't know how they have used it. If you do come off on a motorcycle or do drop your helmet from any higher than about 3 or 4 foot, you should chuck it in the bin, because when you do need it, it's not going to give you the protection that you need. This is a nitro helmet. It is very basic. It does come with the regulation 2205 visor up, and that's pretty much it. You can change the visor if you want to later on. It does have a quick release system under there. Air vents. It's fairly heavy. Now, this is one of the cheapest motorcycle helmets you can get on the market. Anything under £50 you probably don't want to have. For a bog standard 50cc or 125 motorcycle, if you didn't pay much for the motorbike, you're not going to pay much for the helmet. This should protect you adequately on your motorcycle. So all helmets that come into the UK with the safety rating on the back are G-Shock tested, and they have to be able to survive a certain amount of Gs. So now you're starting to go up to the slightly more expensive helmet. This one is actually made by Aero, but we're not going into branding. This is just different shapes. It does come with pin lock. What this means is on the internals of your helmet, you can get another visor, so it doesn't steam up when you're riding. Generally, when I'm riding, I just have it slightly open, and that stops it from steaming up anyway. And if you're riding along and it does fully steam up, open your helmet up 1 or 2 seconds and it will unsteam. Another good thing with this is when you're riding, especially in the winter and the sun is low on the horizon, you tend to get sunlight in your eyes. You can't see very well. So a good thing to have is a set of sunglasses inside your helmet, quick up and down, and that'll make it so it's a lot easier to ride. You can't ride around like this all the time trying to stop the sun from getting in your eyes. Number one, you're not going to have the control of your motorcycle, and number two, you look like a numpty. So yeah, air vents on this. It has air vents on the back, it has air vents on the front. One thing that I've noticed with all motorcycle helmets, and I do this to mine because it's a pain in the bum, when you're riding in real cold and you haven't got a snood on or anything on the inside, these vents tend to let a lot of air hit the back of your head and it feels like somebody's stabbing you in the head. So on my helmet, I cover these up in the winter just to stop the airflow from going in. In the summer, you want to unblock those, let the airflow go through so you don't steam up your helmet or get really sweaty. It's nice to have a nice breeze going through there to keep you comfortable. There's two different types of helmets that you can get like this. So again, it does have the visor up and it does have the sunglasses and it does have a quick release on the front visor. But the main thing with this is the front chin guard goes all the way to the back. In the UK, if your chin guard goes all the way to the back of your helmet, you are legally allowed to ride around with it in this position. It needs to be locked in this position so that it doesn't move. If your helmet, like my one, only goes up to the top like that, legally you're not allowed to use this whilst riding, so you do have to drop it down. Now these helmets in particular are really good for delivery drivers. Reason being is you can go up into the shop, pick up your delivery, open it up, go and do whatever you need to do, get back on your bike, put it back down, go to the customer, lift it up. It means you don't have to take your helmet off 50, 60 times a day, which will get really, really annoying. So yeah, this is a really good idea for a delivery driver or somebody who is on their bike a lot during the day. Me personally, I have something very similar to this when I'm riding, and it means that I can test ride multiple bikes. So I get on a bike, so I get ready to get on a bike, put my helmet on, lift it to the back, get on the bike, put it down, ride the bike, come back, put it back up again, and then get onto the next bike, and then so forth and so forth. It means that I don't have to faff about taking my helmet off every time that I get on and off of a motorcycle, because I get very old very quick. Now this is the last type that I'm going to show you today. This one is actually carbon fibre. It is a much more expensive helmet, and this one does have the sticker on the back so that you can take it on a racetrack. The last two that I showed you also you can take on a racetrack. The first one you can't. Now this does have some special features on it. It does have the pin lock, and it does come with sheets that you can put over the top of the visor, so when you are going around the racetrack you can rip them off quickly one by one. So if I hit your screen, take one layer off. Someone else hits your screen, take one layer off, and it just means that you can see very clearly what you're going. It does come with the quick release tags here, and what this means is you pull on those tags and you can take out all the internals of the helmet. It makes it so that if you do have an accident, it's very easy for them to get the helmet off. Makes it a lot better for you, makes it a lot better for them in the long run, and makes it so that it's more a safer ride. This one also has a different type of strap. Sticks on something like that, and then you just pull the tag and pull it. Remember, if you are riding a motorcycle, you have to make sure that you get the correctly fitted helmet for you. If they are too loose, potentially when you're riding around on the road, if you come off, the helmet can get ripped off, and then they're pretty much useless. So you need to make sure it is the best fitting helmet for you. It should be nice and tight on your cheeks, but make sure that it's not tight on your temples, because otherwise this will give you a really bad headache. Now there's one question that you get asked a lot when it comes to helmets. Is a more expensive helmet a requirement for motorcycling? Now, really and truthfully, if you're buying a cheaper bike, you're not going to want to spend £600–700 on a more expensive helmet. Generally, what you find is after a certain point, around the £200–300 mark, it stops being about safety and becomes more about weight saving. Now, the more you spend on a helmet, generally the lighter they are. Safety rating wise, after say £200–300, somewhere in that sort of region, they are all equivalent safety rating. Difference between plastic and carbon fibre: plastic will shatter most of the time if you hit it hard enough. Carbon fibre generally doesn't. Now, take home for this video. Number one, never buy a second-hand helmet. They're useless. Chuck them in the bin. Don't waste your money. £50 brand new helmet over a £500 second-hand helmet. I would go with the £50 helmet every day. If you drop it from any higher than 3 foot chuck it in the bin. If you've ever had a brand new TV, it comes in the packing foam, you'll know that if you push your finger into that packing foam, it doesn't come back out again. So this is very similar to a motorcycle helmet. Obviously, they don't get TV packing foam and stick them in the helmets. It is a slightly different makeup, but essentially it is the same thing. So never use a second-hand helmet, never buy a second-hand helmet, and never borrow somebody's helmet to go out. The problem is, you'll only know that it doesn't work when it doesn't work. That's the take home on this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully I've given you some of that information so that you know exactly what type of helmet you need to buy for yourself and for your personal preferences. Comment below if you think that I'm right about pricing, whether it matters to buy 500 or whether it matters to buy a £50 helmet. Comment below and I will answer every single question that you put down there, and I will comment to every single reply. Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe if you've liked the video and hit that thumbs up to tell the YouTube algorithm that you enjoyed it. But as always,